I was dying from an allergic reaction to rabies antitoxin. I developed a life-threatening case of serum sickness, which makes childbirth pain look like a small tummy cramp relative to the intensity of the pain. I did not know what drugs they gave me, except the one that helped the pain was in a purple-topped syringe, and the one they gave me with the red syringe did not hurt as much, but it also did not help the pain. The pain was so intense no drug really relieved it. The person next to me in the emergency room behind the curtain was very quiet. I remember wondering who it was, and next thing I knew I was floating above the room in the corner. I had 360-degree vision. I felt great and felt a light behind me. I also saw on the bed tray above my bed the nurse had prepared another purple and red needle. The table was high so I could not see it lying down. Next thing I knew I was back in bed and in pain. The nurse gave me the purple needle that I saw on the table. During my recovery, I was recruited to be a candy stripper and have been a nurse since. The color of the caps on the syringes I found to be significant because there is one standard color for the type of needle. A 1.5-inch 19-gauge needle is color-coded purple. It would be used for intramuscular shots for narcotic pain medication. The red code is for a smaller needle meant to give steroids. I obtained my medical records when I was 27 years old. I was receiving Demerol, which would have been the purple top, and steroids that would have been the red top. I had no way of knowing the purple top meant anything until I became a nurse. While I was out of body, I saw them on the tray, and later when I returned to my body they were still on the tray, and I watched the nurse take them off and give them to me. I have not been able to wear a watch since then that doesn't go dead or runs really slow within a couple weeks or less. I never thought much of the experience. Being a teenager it was just like, cool, and I never thought much about it until the interest in near-death experiences of others started to appear. I really don't think it was the Demerol because if you recall the nurse gave me an injection soon after I was back in my body. So any previous doses would have been getting weak. I know it was not a dream either. I just remember it as cool. I was not afraid.
I was coming back from my club ACT where we helped build stage equipment for the school play. I just finished cleaning the brushes from painting a house. I walked into my school lobby and saw some of my friends. I went to go and sit with them. They said, "Hey, why don't we go and play on the ice?" So I said, "Okay, sounds like fun." I have played on the ice in front of my school before and I like sliding on it and things of that nature. I went away from those friends who wanted to play on the ice and saw some of my other friends and went over to them. I watched what they were doing. It looked like fun, and it didn't look like much could happen to me. While I was running at near full speed onto the ice when I slipped, I saw my feet go into the air, then I blacked out. I then was floating on top of one of those snow mounds, and I saw myself just lying there on my side with my legs crossed, but I specifically remember my legs being crossed. Then I heard a voice from very far away calling my name asking if I was joking. Then I saw in a sort of a white color and couldn't really see that much. I walked to the nurse with this man who I believe was one of my vice principals, and then my mom picked me up. I went to the hospital and that was it.
I was pretty interested in watching them push on me, and glad I couldn't feel the pain anymore. I looked over and saw a boy I had known in junior high, Greg, and said, "Hi Greg, what are you doing here?" Bear in mind, I didn't really look over, and I didn't really say anything, but that's the only way I know to describe the communication. I remember thinking, saying, "What a silly thing to say," and he's saying it's okay. I could see he had the form. I remembered him. I could pull energy around me to form my earthly shape, and it would start to dissipate, and I would try and pull it around me again, but when it would start to dissipate I knew I didn't need to pull the energy around me, and I would try not to. I think one of the reason Greg was there was so I would know I was dead, as he was the only person I knew at the time who had died. I remember thinking when I first got there, before I noticed Greg, a great feeling of relief and overwhelming love, and understanding everything. I thought, oh yeah, I remember now, it's so simple, I will never forget again, but of course, I did forget everything. Behind me, not really behind but I can't describe it any other way, were lots of people in a beautiful garden park, maybe 60 people, and they were all excited to see me, and I was so excited to see them, almost jumping up and down type of excitement. I knew I was in my real home, and I knew that my life on Earth was important, but it wasn't the most important part of my life. I remember thinking of it as I think of high school now, or maybe junior high, important, and something you need to do but not the most important part of total life. I also saw, and I guess the only way to describe it is a life review, but it wasn't a flash only momentary, but it about covered it. There were things I was embarrassed about, and felt like I had to forgive myself for these acts. Then I could go be with my family. I knew these people were family, and I knew then that some of the people I knew in this lifetime as friends were also part of my greater real family. Greg then said, "You know you have to decide real soon," and I said, "I know, I think I want to stay, it's so nice here." And he said, "Don't you want to be with your son?" I asked, "He isn't staying?" Greg said, "No, his is going back," and I said, "I'm going back then." I didn't want to though. Then Greg left and I went back to my body. I have often wondered if Greg is my son.